Assalamu alaikum. I'd like to thank Richard for that introduction. I've been hearing people talk about the history. I told him I watched Pascal since he was a young kid in the amateur. But there's one other thing we missed here when we talked about this. We have to talk about legitimacy. In today's market, you have a lot of young athletes. They've mastered the art of the stare down. Go on YouTube and go through young guys' fights and see how they do the stare down. When they get to the weigh-ins, they master the art of the stare down. They get up in the athlete's face and they growl and they gorilla and then they do all these various things that look like I'm just a beast, I'm just a monster. And then in the ring, they fight nothing like that. We're not giving Bernard full credit. When in these years of past, we've seen a lot of young athletes now. If a young fighter today gets an ingrown hair, he quits. They get an ingrown toenail, they stop the fight. You can't have it. Don't let them see blood. And they stop. It's not legitimate. I've seen Bernard Hopkins be blinded. He was hitting the back of the head in the Roy Jones fight. He was hitting the back of the head consistently in the last fight with Pascal. I was almost convinced that Pascal was like, I need the same reaction Roy got. I'm going to keep hitting him until I get it. But I watched these guys at the weigh-ins and the various stare downs, and like I said this before, and it wasn't to be rude, but a guy asked me, was I belittling Pascal? I said, no, I have a great deal of respect for him, because what's real is real. Pascal proved to me his intelligence when I watched him in that fight. I have to say myself, I'd have been knocked out in that fight. Because if you bring a man that's 18 years older than me in my hometown, I'm going to jump on him like a banshee. He can't make me back up, which might not be the smartest thing. So I'd have probably got knocked out. You know what I mean? But I watched him in Canada with the Ducano fight, the Diakonu, I can't pronounce the young man's name, but it was 2 fights in their fight, and the people in Canada were left with more to be desired. They came back in the Dawson fight, and a lot of people felt Dawson was closing the gap in that fight. So I know Pascal was going to bring his best to the table against Bernard Hopkins, because he's still searching for legitimacy. In the Hopkins fight, now people, well, you saw that for yourself. I'm not going to go into the details of that. You know, he asked me, he said in the 12th round, he kept saying, for a 46-year-old man, did not perform well for the 12th round. I said, Bernard, if you'd have been 20 years old in that 12th round, I'd have been proud. And I trained 20-year-olds. I said, if you'd have been 20 years old, 19 years old, I'd have been proud. Go back and look at your DVDs of some of these latest fights and see what these athletes are doing in the 12th round and 8th round. The other thing is, like I said, I would never say anything derogatory about an athlete without any proof to support it. Because sometimes you don't realize when you say something derogatory, and this is just to pass on this to a young man, you don't realize you actually give the man the greatest compliment in the world. See, for you to say, well, Dad, now, Zim, you look a certain kind of way, man, the way you beat that guy up in the room, I thought you had a bat. That's a compliment to me when I come out and I know I didn't have a bat. See, because I looked at you, you didn't look like you had a bat in the last fight you had. You know, I wasn't that impressed with you to think you did something illegal or something wrong. So this is what I'm saying. Let's appreciate this guy. I said it before at the other press conferences. Let's appreciate this man while we have him. When we lose athletes, when athletes pass on or retire, then we all want to jump up. We want to have a bunch of ceremonies. We want to hoot and holler and talk about how great they were, how great they were. We have him here. He's still competing at an exceptional level. Let's celebrate that. This young man is going to fight his behind off the 21st. Because he's still fighting for legitimacy. See, Bernard Hopkins has nothing to prove. And he still proved more to you in the last fight. With nothing to prove. This young man has still got to convince his own people. So I'm expecting him to bring his A game. He's a talented athlete. And like I told you before, we're in the era of talented athletes. You know, he's the last of the boxers. The Chavezes, the Ricardo Lopezes, these are the last of the boxers. You know what I mean? Now everybody's an athlete. The guy plays basketball, plays football, wrestles, and happens to box too. Bernard is the last of the fighters. Let's celebrate him while we have him, because there's none left. And I thank you for your time and your patience.
HBO, thank you Golden Boy and Ivo Michel to make that fight happen. After the 18th of December's fight, a lot of trash talk from the other team about being robbed in Montreal and Canada happened. You know, this is the difference between be a winner and a dreamer. Still, yesterday and today, they speak about the professor who teach the student. And yesterday, Bernard was speaking about Jean didn't pass the test, but Did the professor give also a good class? Did he back up his legacy at that day? Same thing yesterday, he was speaking about Jean fighting like an amateur. Like fight, you can expect to win a fight when you fight half fight. But you also, in the other sense, you can expect winning a fight when you pass half fight on the floor. You know, at the end of the day, both of them is going to talk a lot. But the very important business, and people who follow boxing know that, is how they're going to train in the couple of next week, how they're going to present themselves the 21st of May. The reality is the last fight was a very close competitive fight. That's going to be the same case. We don't expect an easy fight. It's going to be a tough fight, and we will be prepared for it. The only difference is going to be that this time Jean will have no respect for Bernard because Bernard don't deserve it. He came to Montreal, have a lack of don't show any respect for Jean. And last time I remember that Nassim told us that when Jean's going to step into the ring and look the other side of the corner, he's going to see the legend Bernard Hopkins. That's a half true. Like, all your life you work to be at that level. You work to go on HBO. You work to face that type of opponent. And it's half true. Like, you're a bit of impressed, even if you know that you have to fight that guy. But what happened after the fight of the 18th of December, I can put my name on it. Like, Jean have no more respect, and that's going to be the difference, and we're going to close the show this time. Thank you.